all 3 lanes stopped because no one was paying attention to what the fuck they were doing. Hello everyone, I am Slick Rider, this is my world. Welcome one and all, how are we doing? Having a good day, I hope. Discussion is not quite as bad today. Honestly, I promise. That house is famous. But it's not famous, it's been a TV series for about 2 seconds. Poppy Shakespeare, I think. Come on then. Pretty sure it's Poppy Shakespeare. Anyway, yeah, it's just the outside of the house that was used. Good few years ago now. So today it may look like I'm off to the usual haunts, but I'm really not. I'm gonna get some tyres fitted to this bike, which means I've got to go all the way up to Rochdale. I don't have to, but that's where I chose to go. New set of road 5s going on. Front one on this is nearly bald, and the rear one is getting that way, so if I'm going to do both at the same time, might as well. Oh, he's waited. That's jolly good. Thank you, sir. Or madam, I don't know, I didn't see. As you may be able to see, there's an Insta360 on the front of my bike. Hooray! I hear you all shout. I have no idea what footage I'm going to use from it yet. If that's in the best place for it or not. I know some people stand it up and attach it to various bars. The bike is filthy at the minute, so I don't really want to do too much of that. It's just filthy generally. But in future times I might put it in different places to get different views. Yes, I don't know how much footage I'm going to get from the X2, but we're going to work on that. We're going to see how long battery lasts, that sort of thing. Tests before proper trips and tours and whatnot. I think the footage will come out a lot better than the Samsung Gear 360 ones I was using before. Oh, whilst I'll think about it, because I will forget later. My other half has a shop on Etsy where she makes predominantly jewellery items, necklaces, earrings, such like. But she does have a motorcycle section. Might be inspired by someone. And in that she has some key rings. Guardian Angel key rings, basically. Which I think are really neat. I've got one for each of my bikes. There are 5 colour options to go for if you want to go and look and or buy, entirely up to you. But we would appreciate it. We'd both appreciate it if you went and at least had a look. No pressure. It's at mysticmakes.co.uk. I mean, there might be stuff, non-motorcycle stuff there that you like, who knows? That's entirely possible. But her shop is open after Christmas now, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute, I'll put a link in the description box as well. One thing I was going to talk about today, I don't know, it might go on a bit, we'll see, is... It seems to almost be a fashion. There's certainly a phase of it where someone reviews a new security item, or the manufacturer puts out a video or something. There's always someone somewhere in the comments section who says, you can get around it doing this, you can get around it doing that, it's no good because you can do this, you can do that, you can do the other. That's the first thing they'll be looking for, etc, etc, etc. The list goes on. And if you listen to these comments, there would be no security lock in the world that anyone would buy. There'd be no tracker in the world that anyone would buy, because basically they're completely useless. As an example, recently TMF did a video, the Missing and Flyer did a video with a new tracker. Sorry, I can't remember what the name of the company was, Sizap or something like that, I think. And it's one of these trackers that attaches to the battery. Yes, you monitor it yourself. It's not one that's monitored in a call center or whatever, or some sort of tracking center. It's one that you have an app for on your phone. And someone in the comments section said, oh, well, if it's connected to the battery, that's the first place thieves will look for a tracker. Probably. They're not going to piss about with a tracker before they've stolen it, I suspect. But, I mean, yes. There's an easier way to find out if there's a tracker that thieves actually do, so it's not like it's new information. When they steal your bike, they move it a small distance so that they're not caught with it for the window of being caught is not too long. They move it a small distance, out of sight, out of mind, and then dump it for several hours. And if the bike's still there in a couple of hours' time, it hasn't got a tracker, and they'll go and collect it, assuming you haven't found it, and take it off and do whatever. And if it has got a tracker, the police or whoever will turn up and recover it. Or maybe you'll recover it. Point is, they're not really going to be looking at the point of theft for a tracker. But the comments will be there. It's connected to the battery, that's the first place they'll look for one of these trackers. There's a similar thing to be said for trackers that are not connected to the bike's battery. Some other comment like, oh, the battery will run out. You have to keep remembering to charge it and all that sort of stuff. All the usual sorts of things. And you'll get those that will defend security locks like they're the best thing ever. I see a lot of praise, and not necessarily the most ardent of fans, but I see a lot of praise for the light locks, and I know my brother has light locks, so I don't really want to say this. But there's a video from the lock-picking lawyer on YouTube where he gets through it in under 20 seconds. Now, granted, he's using tools that he doesn't think the average thief would carry with them, but the point is that even that, there's a way through it. But if you listen to people who say, oh no, lockpicking lawyer's been through that in 20 seconds, you'd never buy the damn thing. These people are not likely to add in the nuances of, but this particular piece of equipment isn't going to be carried around. So again, you wouldn't buy it. And it kind of annoys me, but then there's also the people who will say, well, you don't need a lock on your bike, or, whatever. Maybe in their country or point of origin that might be true. But for the majority of us, we're going to need to buy locks. And I would say, in all honesty, if you can get a tracker for a reasonable price, go and get one. Why not? If it's a reasonable price. Mine, fortunately, came with the bike, so I didn't actually pay for them, which is nice. There's a subscription because it's a tracked thing, people in the call centre track it, which has its benefits and it's posed its cons, that's the better way of saying it. Yes, it costs a bit of money. Yes, occasionally you'll get a phone call in the middle of the night. Yes, occasionally. Very occasionally. There'll be, you starting up the bike and they'll go, ooh, we think this is unusual behaviour because you haven't used it for 6 months. But even if you haven't got a tracker on your bike, even if you don't want to pay the £60 or whatever it is you can see, Well, why not get an old phone, or what if you've still got an old phone lying around? You can still use them as a sort of a poor man's tracker. It sounds wrong saying a poor man's tracker, but provided you keep remembering to charge the battery on the phone, you can link it to Google services and basically track it yourself if you really wanted to. Share it with another device, etc., or with another account. Share the location, I mean. There's also data tag if your bike gets stolen. Security markings on your bike. Others are available, of course, other security markings, but you can get them. And they often put a little sticker, like I've got one here. You can see that. Allegedly the sticker is a deterrent, but I don't think it is. I don't think most thieves really care about that sort of thing. Ultimately, the best form of security is as many locks as you can get away with. Disc locks on both wheels, chain. If you can chain it to something, even better. Apparently something you don't want to do is leave any part of the chain dangling on the floor, because that gives potential thieves a nice solid ground on which to try and cut the chain off. You can get a bit more leverage for the actual bolt croppers, and like I say, somewhere solid for an angle grinder. You can get a proper grip of it. But you'd also really want to chain it to something that you can't really move or cut through, like a lamppost. Railings might work, but you know. And you want to get reasonable quality locks. I mean, I say the light lock, yes, someone managed to cut through it really quickly, but using fairly standard equipment, I think it's like 4 or 5 minutes, they reckon, for a light lock. But a good quality chain also will work, and make sure the chain is the same thickness all the way through, because you get these sheaths on them now to stop it damaging paintwork, etc., and some people have used that as an excuse to cheapen out on the links in that sheath. So the ones you can see are nice sort of 10, 11, 12, 13 millimeter chains, and the ones inside are, well, 3 or 4 millimeter, huge long 3 or 4 millimeter. I can't even speak. Huge long 3 or 4 millimeter thick loops. They're not security at all. All hints and tips that you should already probably know, but yeah, I would say get multiple locks, because the more you get, the more you can carry with you and actually put on when your bike's stationary and you're not with it, the less chance there is of your bike getting stolen, because thieves are not going to want to mess around with multiple locks. 1, they'll have a go at. 2, they might have a go at. 3 or more, no, they'd really want to have to steal your bike to deal with that. If you have a lightweight bike, of course, you definitely want to chain it to something, because otherwise they could, in theory, just pick it up and slap it in the back of a van or on the back of a flatbed or something. That's entirely possible. I'm sure a lot of you series bikers already know all this stuff, of course. Not news to you. But I do occasionally hear people who are experienced bikers who will leave their bike unlocked, you know, and barely even a steering lock on, frankly. No, my bike has never been stolen. I leave it here all the time. Yeah, okay. 50,000. Guy in the shop said he had to do a test ride on the tyres, obviously, to make sure they were okay. But he said he got about 100 yards from getting back to the shop, and it clicked over to 50,000. It's a good job I wasn't going that way, wasn't it? Brand new tyres on. 400 squids lighter in my wallet. A few minor issues apparently, and yeah, I need to change the brake pads on the front. I'm going to change the ones on the rear as well, because I think they're getting a bit, I don't know, I might leave them. Yeah, there's a few notes on there I need to look at. The wheel bearings on the rear wheel might not be too good. There was a little bit of play, he tightened it up and it disappeared, so yeah, it might be the bearings, which will be annoying, but never mind. Yeah, there was a tendency for people to want to put locks on that you can't see from a distance, and it's because they want their bike to look good. You know, they can walk up to their bike and go, oh, doesn't that look good, without having to see the locks there, which is a bit of a backward way of looking at it, really, because you want people to see the locks. And the reason I want people to see the locks is because a thief is going to be looking for them to see if they're there or not. If he doesn't think they're there, he's going to look a bit closer. Or she, it might be a she thief, you never know. They're going to look a bit closer to see if the bike's worth stealing or not. But if they can see the locks miles off, yeah, sure, they're going to know how many locks are on there. But that's the whole point. If they see 2 or 3 different locks, they're going to think twice about going for it. Yeah, it was just a thought. I was once with the mindset that I wanted dark locks because I didn't want the thieves to be able to see how many locks and work out whether it's worth stealing, but at the same time, yeah, it works the other way around. And now I have reconsidered. I also don't necessarily think the alarm locks are really worth anything. Because like an actual alarm for a bike anyway, most people walking around are not going to pay any attention to it. Oh, the alarm's going off. Oh well, there might be a police officer walking around locally who sees something and goes, oh yeah, no, stop thief. But most people aren't going to get involved, particularly if there's a power tool involved. Anyway. Gotta be a little bit careful with these new tyres for the first few miles, more than a few. Yeah, there's a bit of an issue at this junction with the speed demons coming down the lane I'm in, wanting to go over to the left to leave this section of motorway. Now for some reason this other car is just sitting there. It's actually speeding up a little bit. People forever tapping their brakes. Greasy surface because of the rain. New tyres, taking it easy. Until the next video, thank you very much for watching. Do appreciate it. Don't forget to visit mysticmakes.co.uk if you're, kind enough to do that. It is appreciated. Until the next time, be good humans. Ta-ta for now. I might as well let you go. We had no choice, BMW. Yeah, part of the issue I have now getting home is that front and rear end you. Everything feels slippery. Everything.